Today we were going to talk about is the DSLR Dead, but I've been struggling really hard with this new camera, the Fuji X-T3. It keeps pulsating like nobody's business when it's at higher f-stop, so I don't know what the hell is wrong with this camera. I think it's a bug with firmware at 3.0. It's really difficult at this point to have any footage. Hopefully I figured it out, and hopefully it's not pulsating right now. So I can't monitor myself, so hopefully this is good. So today we're going to talk about an interesting topic that was brought in the latest podcast from Chelsea and Tony Northrup. And if you don't know what that is, I'll give you a link down below. You can go and listen to it. But the comment was, the content of that podcast was, is the DSLR dead? And that's a really good question. If you look at the sales of DSLR in the market, you can see that it's been plummeting for many years, and there's a reason for that. And part of that is the companies are partially to blame for that, but also I think there's been a market shift in the market of photography and videography. And this is why DSLR sales are plummeting. And part of that is these smartphones that we have are so good now. And in theory, they are mirrorless cameras, and they provide what the regular Joe needs that normally he wouldn't get that from his phones. But before, they would go in retail store and they would buy, you know, your $500 Rebel camera or your Nikon, 5500 camera. But today, these people don't feel like they need to. They have a smartphone that can do video in 4K. It takes 10, 12 megapixel pictures. It's good enough for Instagram or whatever social media, Snapchat, Twitter, whatever you guys are using. And this is why the lower end market has almost vanished completely. And so what's left in the market is people like me, enthusiasts, and you have the professionals. Now the professionals, they usually don't change body very often. They often buy a camera and they will ride it out until it dies. And they often just get the shutter repair and just continue because they have a workflow. They're used to working in a certain way, and any change in that workflow means the less profit for them, and it's already a difficult kind of work to do. So the faster you can do the work, the better it is for you. So I think in that sense that professionals are not really switching. So it only leaves a small part of the market where people who maybe have regular jobs, who make a little money and just want to have that extra, oomph in their photo or in their video, and I think this is why the market has changed. So, if you take Sony, for example, they saw that people wanted to have better video camera, but not necessarily want to leave the ecosystem they were tied to, because they love their Canon glass, and so there's nothing better than to make a camera and tell your consumer, all this glass that you spend years that you love using, well, you can use it in our camera. Just buy this little adapter. You can even have autofocus, electronic aperture ring control, all of it available to you. But then you can do things that the other company cannot provide you. And Sony, what they did was, it really is more of a video camera than a photo camera. It does take great pictures, but people wanted to switch to Sony for the video feature, and that's because they didn't get that from the DSLRs. They didn't get that from Canon and Nikon, and I blame Canon and Nikon for that. But Sony, they have an expertise in videos. I mean, their high-end video cameras are amazing, and they're industry standards. And so they had the knowledge, and they decided, we're just gonna which is going to provide a full frame camera. I can do, 4K video at $2,000. That was unheard of. And that's why they took the market, at least a part of that market of people who were looking for, what we call the hybrid shooters. And so, and those are people like me. And the reason why we're looking for these cameras is that when we bid for jobs, people are coming to us and say, you know what, I know you can do photography, but can you also film that event? Can I have some footage for my YouTube, for my social media? And this is where the market is. And so if you don't do video today, you're really, really limiting yourself, because this is what the customer wants. And that's what they're willing to pay for, because photography no longer has the same prestige that it used to have unless you do studio work. If you do event work, people think it's just a snapshot with your cell phone, smartphone is good enough. But for video, this is where you need, probably better equipment, better lenses, low light capability that maybe your smartphone is not doing as well. So, to capture these events. So this is what the market wants. And this is why people are moving to mirrorless camera, because the flange distance to the sensor is a big deal. That you can adapt any lenses, even old cine lens. This is actually why people are switching over. So is the DSLR dead? It's not really dead, just like vinyl is not dead. But I don't think the market is ever going to grow again. Now, Reco, which makes a Pentax camera, said that they think people will switch back to DSLR in a couple of years. I think that's a no. I don't think so. What I think company needs to do is provide pro body camera in the mirrorless world. I don't think there is any of those in the market. I mean, even the Z7, amazing camera, but it certainly is missing a lot of the pro feature that the 850 will provide you, or the 5D Mark IV in terms of photography itself. So the EOS R and RP are really not the answer. The Z7 and the Z6 are excellent cameras. I love my Z7. I would not hesitate to do any video or any work on it. I'm actually planning to do a lot of work with it, which is something we'll talk about another time. But this is where I think Canon has an opportunity to regain consumer like me who shot Canon for 10 years, to go back to Canon and provide us with what we're looking for. And we don't want the EOS R. Nobody wants that. I know some people love it, but who wants a 4K camera that does 1.8 crop? Like, that's not what we're looking for. We bought a full frame sensor, and we want a full frame experience. We want full sensor readout, subsample back to 4K. That's what we're looking for. So, and until they do that, I think Canon is going to see their market share slowly go down, while Sony and Fuji's and even Nikon, I think they finally realize what I'm talking about is that if you don't do video in the right way, then people are going to leave you. And so this is where the market is going. Of course, I don't know the truth. Nobody does. We're just making speculation on the market. Things could change. It could be a game-changing DSLR coming out that people are raving about, that does everything we ever wanted, and people buy it, but I doubt it. I think that time is gone. People want smaller camera to carry with you. They want to have all the features of the Pro camera, but just smaller size, smaller lenses. You hear that, Canon? Smaller lenses. We don't need that huge 85 1.2. That's not, maybe if you have a studio, but that's not what we're looking for. I would be okay with a smaller 85 1.8. I'm not going to shoot at 1.8 anyway. and I'm probably stepping down to 4, so I can have maybe bigger depth of field, shallower depth of field photography. Well, and we can talk about that another time. I think that people feel like they always need to shoot wide open, but anyway, I'm rambling. So guys, so in conclusion, I don't think that the DSLRs are dead, but they're not what they used to be, and they will not be anymore. So that being said, guys, I'm excited about some of the project I got going. I'm going to do a lot of videography this summer. There is a few things I'm working on that I can't talk about, but I'm going to be behind the camera using some gimbals and some real equipment, and it's going to be fun. Of course, I'm going to talk about that experience as well. I'm still learning DaVinci Resolve, so this is going to be interesting from that point on. And I'll see you next time, guys. And don't forget to subscribe or click the bell, whatever. Leave your comments below if you think I'm wrong. Let me know.